We're back with Angelo and Charlie. Angelo, Melania Trump today seemed to confound everybody. Your thoughts?
Yeah, she sure did. I mean, she confounded even Fox News. They were extremely flabbergasted. Look, I mean, obviously there's some kind of a strategic reason for it. I mean, one thing to consider, it hasn't gotten a lot of attention in the right-wing media, but there have been a few right-wing media hosts that have been sort of weaving and conjuring together this really elaborate conspiracy theory about Epstein ties and Melania Trump and sort of Israeli control of an influence over Trump. So that's not, and they've been hammering it every day. The other thing that sort of popped up that I immediately thought of, people think, oh, she's getting ahead of a story. Maybe somebody called, possibly. But some of it has to do with the committee itself. Last week, I think on The View, there was discussion about why she hasn't been called before the committee to testify when they called the Clintons, even because she's in the Epstein files. So that was the way I interpret it, that, to some extent, she's just getting in front of something and trying to recenter it. She says it should be about the victims, which is a way to say, not about me. Please don't drag me in front of it. And so now if something does happen, she can point to this as an attack. But either way, it doesn't really matter what the effect, what the cause is. The effect is going to be the same, which is that she's recentering this. And we were just talking about all the cracks in the right-wing media, in the MAGA coalition. This is one of the fault lines. And what she basically just did is create a new earthquake on another fault line within Trump's MAGA coalition. Whether or not that was an intention is irrelevant. The effect is very real.
Well, and I buy sort of the least dramatic explanation, right? Luke said that one of the theories was she Googled herself and didn't like what she saw. So I Googled her, and the first story that came up was a Daily Beast story with a CNN political commentator describing her as the most unpopular first lady in America's 250-year history. But that doesn't mesh with the things she said. I mean, she denied things that I've never heard said. She denied being a victim of Jeffrey Epstein. She denied being a witness to crimes of trafficking and abuse. She denied being his friend. She denied things with such specificity that I'd never seen alleged about her.
I have seen these things alleged. It's just they're in corners of the fever swamps that, even I don't spend a lot of time in. I mean, honestly. So, and I think if I hate to sort of like conjure these guesses, but you could see how this breadcrumb plays out, right? She sees something. She asks a staffer to help her understand what's being said about her. Because remember, these people are all tied into these fever swamps. We can't divorce that from this. They are all creatures of the right-wing media, either explicitly or from there, but we're all living in a fever dream now. And so, a staffer could easily be connected to it. I can point to all the shows that have made references to some of these photographs and, all these other examples, or the fact that she, one of the tie-ins on the idea about she knew about the victims being trafficked is somebody sequenced together when she emailed Maxwell with a profile about Jeffrey Epstein and sort of tied the dots that she would have known and that she was sending the email anyway to boost herself. I mean, there is actually examples out there, but somebody really needed to be digging to give her a really comprehensive picture of all of those things. They're not really part of the day-to-day churn. They live in the bowels.
I'm not buying it, Charlie Sykes. I mean, this is a woman who doesn't weigh in on threats of war crimes and the destruction of civilization, an attempt to end birthright citizenship, the murder of 2 American citizens. I mean, she doesn't weigh in on anything. And she's out there summoning the pool, loading a teleprompter, shocking Fox News, denying things that I cover this story every day. I have educated myself on the facts of Epstein. I have read more of the files than I've read of my kids' report card. I mean, it is so niche where this, I believe, Angela, that it's out there, but it is really hard to find. What do you think? What's your theory?
Well, this is extraordinary, and it's exceedingly strange, as you covered in the last hour. Why today? What is she responding to? It's just odd to hear her, protesting too much. But the other part of it, and I'm glad you highlighted it, was when she was calling for the congressional hearings, when she was calling for the congressional hearings that Republicans have refused to have. So that we can speculate on what her motivation was. My sense is that it certainly looks and feels like she kind of went rogue, that, Donald Trump is off doing his other thing, and she's out there, once again raising the Epstein files, which is the last thing that the White House wants to do. And the last thing the congressional Republicans want to have is the first lady Melania Trump saying we need to have hearings and bring the witnesses in and put them under oath, which is exactly what Democrats on that committee have been pushing to do. So the next question is, let's turn the cameras on Congress, turn the cameras on the Republicans in Congress, saying, do you agree with Melania Trump about the need for more investigations? And as you pointed out, this comes just a couple of days after the new acting Attorney General Todd Blanche basically said, yeah, we're done with this. We're not going to be doing anything whatsoever. So that part of her statement, probably is going to have, significant, it's going to rattle people on Capitol Hill as well it should. But what an extraordinary, strange episode in an administration where we've had a lot of weird things happen. This really sort of stands out on its own, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I don't even have it there. I mean, it's so weird. I have no idea what it is. But right. I think that Trump has been so deliberate in dismissing the victims. I think at one point he said he wasn't going to have them to the White House because they don't, quote, deserve to be there. Pam Bondi refuses to turn around and acknowledge them and starts talking about the Dow. And then Melania says, center a hearing around them. It's just, it's more weirdness